pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. As is our habit at the beginning of the meeting, we'd like to open it up if the press has any 5-minute comment or less. Stand, please. And
You mean the public?
public?
You said press.
Oh, well, press is always foremost on my mind, but I did mean public.
Bob Ellsner, Massena. Each of you took an oath of office to sit where you're sitting tonight. Inclusive of that oath was a commitment to uphold the laws of governance and representation of the people who elected you. I feel you have failed miserably at both. Aside from the issues surrounding our community hospital and the eventual outcome of those issues, the manner in which you conducted yourself in addressing these issues is a greater concern. Regardless of how noble you may think your actions are in relationship to our community hospital, your actions have been, in most part, abusive, unethical, tyrannical, and yes, illegal. This is not how representative government governs. If your defense is on the advice of counsel, think again, for his counsel has not been able to properly interpret and advise even the most clearest of rules. His advice has been one of malfeasance, at least, or malpractice at its worst. If your defense is your continuance silence to speak out, think again. For your silence is either deference to the will of one, at least, or affirmation of the will of whole at its worst. What none of you or your actions represent are we who elected you to sit in those chairs, nor do they represent just and legal due processes. Despite the clarity of the laws of governance being broken and abused, there seems to be no legal recourse available to this community to address your actions. I should note that I believe that is why this room is not packed at this moment. Neither the county district attorney, state attorney general, or numerous other elected representatives seem to want to address our grievances. So you continue unabated to do as you wish. We, your electorate, demanded a fair and openly transparent process in determining the fate of our community hospital. In conspiratorial secrecy, you not only have denied us that process, but have dismissed our desires to be part of that decision. However, one way or another, we will be heard. Only 3 of you have guaranteed seats at this table come this fall. Rest assured that we will remember come November and help 2 of you transition from those chairs to those doors and to the street below. Each subsequent November will also be one to remember. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Council members, good evening. Bob, I appreciate you mentioning transparency tonight. It seems to be a word that's on a lot of people's minds. My name is Dave Rome. I am a resident of Massena. And since we last met together a month ago, what began as a dumpster fire has become a conflagration, especially when you stop to consider the news of the last 72 hours. It's my belief that the town board in recent weeks, the Massena Memorial Hospital Board, have not been transparent in their dealings. Now, while researching my comments this evening, I found the following definition of transparent from Webster. The first one, of course, would be something that's see-through. The second, of course, a little bit more obscure, probably not as well known. Free from pretense or deceit, frank, easily detected or seen through, obvious, readily understood, or, and this one is quite touching, characterized by visibility or accessibility of information, especially concerning business practices. I then turned to WikiQuote, and while I was unable to find an illuminating quote regarding transparency, their page on the subject said this: transparency is a policy of making information public. It is implemented by a set of policies, practices, and procedures that allows citizens to have accessibility, usability, utility, understandability, informativeness, and auditability of information and process held by the centers of authority in society or organizations. For months, it seems that the members of the town board have been working towards their own ends and not being transparent, instead of serving the constituency that put them into office. This deviousness and their unwillingness to be transparent in an issue that will affect every single resident, not only of Massena as a town, but the surrounding areas, has shown the community as a whole your disrespect for the elected offices you hold and your utter disregard for the people that voted you into office. Shame on all of you. I'm saddened and I'm embarrassed to say that I know most of you, and I am thoroughly disgusted by the travesty of what you've done thus far. There have been calls for your resignations, and your unwillingness to fall on one sword, to take the honorable, respectable way out when things have failed, not only shows your true character, but reveals portions of your machinations. I stood here last month and asked you, Mr. O'Shaughnessy, what you were hiding, what agreements were made with your input, or Mr. Carbone's, that would make you choose what is a wholly unsensible plan. You've had multiple people stand up from a variety of backgrounds and state that inviting CPH and SLHS here would be a grave mistake. Instead of taking their learned advice, you plunged ahead, driving the residents of Massena and the surrounding area into a brick wall of your own design. If only we felt we could count on there being a hospital that would be able to care for us in a timely manner when we're driven into that brick wall. However, the fault isn't solely on your shoulders, although blame certainly begins there. And much like liquid manure, there's more than enough to go around this field. And like liquid manure, that stink goes on for miles. In this case, at least the 1.3 miles between here and the MMH Board of Managers, many of whom members were also appointed by you, Mr. Supervisor. Specifically, Loretta Perez. Now, she wasn't appointed by you, but she was elected the most recent MMH Board chairperson. And when that was announced, I thought, well, finally, somebody that's on the side of the people of Massena, who will make the best choice, an informed choice, a transparent choice, the best decision for the town that she has dedicated so many years to. To quote Mr. O'Shaughnessy's recent comment on North Country Now, I was mistaken. Of the last 4 chairpersons of the MMH Board of Managers, Loretta Perez was the only one who displayed a lack of transparency, both in meeting with Dr. Maresca and in phone calls with Mr. Acker. You know, when she taught students, myself included, high-quality work was expected and the best effort they could put forth. The people of Massena, Ms. Perez, expected more of her and, of course, of the 4 of you that are here, and, of course, Mr. Miller. More was expected of all of you in this instance. And like the members of the town board yourselves, you have all failed them.
Yes, sir.
I'm really only here for one rather simple reason tonight. I'm not going to attack anybody coming forward. I just want to make sure you're able to see me and I'm able to see you. I'm here simply to find out the action taken last night. You have a responsibility and an obligation to report out activity that happened in executive session. I think Eric's interpretation of the law is not totally accurate. We're not talking about details of a person's life or health or finances. We're not talking about the life or health of a corporation. If there is a corporation involved here, it's Massena Hospital, and that is a town hospital, so that also is public. So I just came tonight to find out what action you took last night.
I'm surprised that you were
Steve, maybe I can just.
town supervisor for 8 years and don't know that. But go ahead.
I don't recall taking action.
Just for the record, because I think the paper got it a bit wrong this morning. A vote is authorized to be taken in executive session pursuant to sections 105 and 106 of the Public Officers Law,
Correct.
which, as you may recall, is the one that deals with the Open Meetings Law. Now, under a different section or different grouping of the Public Officers Law, the FOIL section, the town is required to keep a record of those votes. And that record of votes may be subject to FOIL, subject to the, the limitations in FOIL. Okay, so there is a mechanism for those votes to be obtained through FOIL, and again, subject to the limitations in FOIL, right? And just so you're aware, I mean, there's a bunch of Court of Appeals cases, the state's highest court, directly on this point. So, if you've got questions about that, what I would suggest is that you make the appropriate FOIL request so that it can be dealt with pursuant to FOIL.
Then I have one question for you, I guess, Counselor, is it, why would a FOIL be necessary? Pretty simple, it's not required, you don't have to keep this stuff under wraps, which is what you're doing. You can very easily, a FOIL is a great tool to get information. You make a written request for specific information, records, it's not really access to records is what the law is about, right? There is now a record of last night's meeting, or there should be by now. It should have been shortly after you left it. And I'm simply saying is, why would you make the citizens of this town, who pay the salaries of everybody in the town hall and at this board, and at this table, why would you force them to FOIL information that was quite simply just given in a verbal manner? Well, the motion was this, and the vote was this, and here's how we voted. It's pretty simple. I don't really see why we need to go through the whole formality of the FOIL. And I guess maybe you can explain why we need to get that formal.
As you know, FOIL protects certain disclosures, right, including certain confidential and proprietary information. So there's a process to go through, and all the town board is asking is that you go through that process.
And will there be
nothing more than that?
Would we expect an answer? Let's say I made a FOIL request about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago on another matter, got that information a few days ago. So if I made a FOIL request tonight when I get home by computer, what is the likelihood that I would get a response?
Again,
get the product of the information. Let me finish, please. What's the possibility that I would get the product of my request before David Actor was at the hospital today, I'm told by 5 different people. So what is the likelihood that I would get the answer to my FOIL before a deal is done with Potsdam?
Oh, I would say it's highly likely. And again, there's a process that you're well aware of for how sales occur of town assets that require a permissive referendum and an opportunity for a referendum, a vote, if people feel that's in their interest. So, and you also know that there can be no expenditure of public funds done in executive session, right? And so, there's none of that.
No, there shouldn't be expenditure of funds, but it's
I'm just saying, there's been questions tonight about transparency, and there's going to be an opportunity for everyone to be heard, and for people, if there is a deal struck, for people to weigh in on it. It's required.
It's required.
It's required.
Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be necessary, though. I mean, if you just explain it publicly, it's really not really necessary to go through all the hoops. And I don't require, in the 8 years I sat here, and this isn't about politics, it's not about me, I never tried to thwart giving information to the public. And that's what has been going on for the past 3 months. It's a very specific effort to thwart any attempts of the public to get information. And it's really not understandable, it's really unconscionable, and it's unfortunate. It gives all the specters that people have in their mind, the suspicions they have of government and politicians, it just reinforces all those things in spades, and it's unfortunate.
I just want to ask a couple questions. The employees of the hospital brought up some very good questions the other night. One of them brought up and said, apparently, it was brought up as some kind of a signed document, a letter or something like that. Is there a signed letter of intent already done or signed with ACCR for him to be up there this morning?
We're not going to respond to that.
Of course not.
Are you kidding?
Of course, they said it's a yes.
And as far as you go, just the last thing that I ever remember was the sale of the old museum, where you wouldn't release the purchase offer contract till it was done. Of course, when you're selling a town asset, you don't want to release all the information so that the competitor could catch on and outbid or something.
So there was a letter of sale of some
I'm
sort?
not going to respond.
Because you brought it up, that's why I asked.
No, I didn't bring it up, you brought it.
No, you just did, if there's a sale, so I
So
said.
the sale of the library,
Oh, no.
of the museum?
No,
No,
We're
the
talking
way
about-
you worded it, you
No, the way you
indicated
worded
the sale of an
it
asset.
made me think you're talking about the hospital.
I just told him the last time he kept something quiet.
No. Not the way
Next
you
question.
So is there a letter of intent that's been signed?
We're not gonna respond to that.
When will we find out?
I'm not gonna respond to that.
When you sit in the office
When we do find out, how much time, Eric, how much time do we have to do the petitions order for the permissive referendum? I guess.
So what happens whenever there's a sale of town real estate, okay? And if you wanted to do some searching later, section 64 of the town law
Okay,
is the one that deals with it, okay? And what happens is the town, in order to sell any town asset, real estate wise in any event, has to be done pursuant to permissive referendum, okay? So the town board would adopt a resolution, they have to provide notice of the resolution,
okay,
okay? And then there's a 30-day window
30 days.
to draft the necessary and get the signatures on the petition.
And how many signatures would be necessary?
I don't recall, okay, it's a percentage of
5%.
the number of the electors in the last gubernatorial.
5%.
Okay. Thank you, Eric.
I realize, Steve, you're not going to commit to anything, but on Monday, I went to the hospital board meeting because I was asked about why I knew about a letter of intent back in November of 18, along with former CEO Chuck Giganto, and then we didn't bring it forward because we wanted to go with Krause Hospital. And one of the things that was asked of you, I didn't ask, but someone else asked, were you aware of that letter of intent? And you said you had a draft copy. You said that in the public meeting. So the draft, but yet CPH, David Bender, and David Acker were at the hospital this morning, and there was a letter of intent signed by David Acker, dated for 3/25, that was presented to the hospital board. So I just wanted to clarify that there was a draft or there wasn't a draft, and that's all I'm asking, because I was drawn into this that I had a copy, which I didn't, and certainly never had.
Who said that?
David Acker did, if you read the newspaper today.
So I
He sent
just
an
wanted,
email to his employees.
Excuse me, one at a time.
Okay, well, you asked
One
the
rude
question.
person.
yeah. So I just want to go on record that I had no letter of intent as the chair of the hospital board, and the last communication I had with Mr. Acker and Mr. Bender was in September, which you were attending, and Sam, at a public presentation. But there was a mention of a draft, but yet here, and you don't have to commit, you're obviously not going to commit to that, there was a signed portion by Mr. Acker alone in presentation to the hospital board and the town board.
Okay, is that it?
No, not by far.
Jason?
I'm Charlie Romine. I'm a taxpayer and resident of the town of Massena. And first off, Mr. Supervisor, when you want to talk about decorum, you should practice with you and some of your board members. How many of your board members have constantly texted, including yourself, when Mrs. Beller had her hearing? Instead of listening to her like a gentleman would, you sat there texting. I know. I've got the picture on my cell phone. You know, yesterday, when I read the article in the North Country Now by Andy Gardner, you were stated as saying, O'Shaughnessy had initially announced the meeting as to discuss a contract that, if discussed in open session, would possibly diminish the value of the asset. But yet you say there's nothing going on. You know, later in the article you say, when Andy, I guess, asked you a question of, when asked about the discrepancy between the emailed announcement and Carbone's motion to close the doors, you said I was mistaken. Well, I'm sure if we look back, probably on the election of 2016 for town supervisor, right now most of the employees that voted for you in the unions at the hospital, they were mistaken too, and they would gladly admit it.
That's true.
You know, I have never seen such a travesty. You know, now when you fired yourself, when you fired one of the previous CEOs at the hospital, Mr. Wolleben, this is a clarification I may need you for this, Counselor. Supposedly, you went out and you hired your own CEO to take the place of him, correct? Supposedly at the cost of $40,000, I guess, a month was her salary, if I'm correct?
Mhm.
It's common, you're not obligated to respond.
It's true.
Of course not.
Well, then why don't we replace you people and just put little hand puppets there, except for the counselor, because he can tell the hand puppets, you can speak or you can't speak. You know, what a great disgrace for the community of Massena, both the village and town, to have such representation. You know, one thing I'd like to know, counselor, just for my own clarification, on that meeting last night, do you see any problems with the way it was held? You could defend that in a court?
Yeah, I think it was legally conducted.
Okay, because this morning I once again called the Office of Open Government, and I asked them why we are having flagrant violations on the open meetings law. And she said one of two things: we could either put an Article 78 against you, which would have to get a lawyer, which would cost us money, then it would go to a court, and probably most of the thing would happen is you get your little hand slapped. Or even better, I figured we could all save money, because she also told me that if you would really like, if you applied, she said somebody would come up from Albany and be willing to teach you exactly what an open meeting law is and how to conduct yourselves.
I just want to make a quick comment. I'm a 26-year-plus employee of Massena Hospital. I sat at that meeting the other night with Mr. Sam Carbone sleeping during most of that meeting. Yes, you were, sir. I was sitting right there. I saw it. And also texting you and him. I love this hospital. I would do anything for this hospital. But you guys have been so secretive towards the residents of this town and the employees of this town. This is why everybody at our hospital is so skeptical about what you guys are doing. I'm disgusted by this. And I can tell you, Mr. O'Shaughnessy, the majority of the people that voted for you at that hospital regret it. I can tell you, if we could do it over again, you would not be here. That's it.
Jason? Thank you for the, so my name is Jason Hendricks, I'm the owner of H3 Designs. Thank you for the invite to be here tonight to present to you some ideas. Unfortunately, we had technical difficulties, so I did give each of the councilmen and women's a copy of this presentation. So a couple, I mean, I've been working with the town of Massena on the Fish Massena website and the social media over the last several months. So what we wanted to do was, or I've been here a few times, and I know, like Steve, you had mentioned, how can we get everything together? And then I know, Sam, you point to Newcomb, and you like things at Newcomb, and as you got the pen on your head. So those things, and Tom, you know, he wants to be able to, need a guy that when we need something, it can just be done. So I sat there, and he says, hey, I want you to, Tom came to me, he's like, we want you to present at a town board meeting. So there was no clear direction, so I kind of just formulated my own idea, and I kind of took everything that you guys had said to me in the past and kind of just threw it all together. So one of the questions is what exactly does H3 Designs do? So the first one's obviously web design. We cover logo design, social media management, print design, and the printing of both materials, digital printing, digital marketing, and we offer monthly retainers to handle your internet needs. So with that being said, now I get to the idea. So moving forward, I know like right now the airport's on one site, and then we have the Fish Massena site. We have all these things in different areas. My plan would bring all of it together under one, as you saw on the front page, I went with Experience Massena. Obviously that could be delved into more, but encompassing everything into one website. So people come there, they can plan a stay, plan their trip, view the campgrounds, engage more about fishing, get all the information they need, within Massena and what we have to offer. Sometimes I think a lot of our assets are underutilized and underappreciated. Create social media channels for this newly created tourism initiative. We would also content create for this new website, social media, and the print products. Also, why I say this, I've spoken with Don numerous times as well, and this would also extend our partnership, how I work with Don on the fishing end of things. We've mentioned ideas of podcasts, those sorts of things to help feature things in the scene as well as part of this plan. We'd also create print materials, and what I mean by print materials would be travel guides, brochures, a lot of the things I feel like when Don goes to a show, some of those things are missing, and we have them readily available and ready to go. Okay, how do we make it happen? So tourism strategy and guidelines will be developed to promote and foster, obviously, our great town of Massena, New York. We would gather all the current assets that we currently have created up until this point and figure out which assets would help apply to this newly created tourism initiative. After that process is created, we will fill in the blanks with new content, new material, to create a more engaging appeal to the visitors of the website. This includes the print, social media, and the web content. So when I mentioned current assets, those include the Fish Massena website, the current Town of Massena website, the since completed town map, the digital and the print version that will be rolling out shortly, the airport website, the fishing guides brochure that Don had that was created recently, the current Massena logo, and the new PBS travel commercial that was also created. Take all those, pull that together, and see what would fit and adapt to the new initiative moving forward. So what would this do? Steve, this speaks to your point about how we had the, many different things going on. It would actually cut down on hosting fees because everything would be condensed down. Because I believe right now the airport is paid for, the fishing is on separate. This would put it on one server under one domain, and it would allow you guys to actually save costs when it comes to web hosting fees. We would also, from this, create cohesive marketing materials. Everything would have the same kind of look and appeal. I know right now it feels like we do a little piece here, a little piece there. This would allow us to do it all together and create a branding identity across the board. The templates would be created from the print materials, so everything would be created. Therefore, when everything needed to be edited, we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. It would be a simple update, go to print, or publish, or whatever it is that we're doing with that piece of material, and it would actually save money in the long run. Instead of, like I said, recreate new print templates, new everything. We would basically just utilize the templates that are created in this project. I did put a little screen grab of like a quick opening of a website, kind of an idea. I did include in that packet. So what the process would look like. We do a planning and research, obviously with the town council involved, and brainstorm ideas on what the marketing and a new logo would look like. From there, we build the brand strategy out that would produce a document that would follow how the town of Massena was represented digitally with the assets that we have created. Create those assets from there, which would include photography, video, again, the print materials, anything that we're going to need to promote our great town. And then from there, we would mobilize that into the website and social media, prepare that plan, and launch the new tourism initiative for the town of Massena. And so the other great thing about this project was if we were to do something like this, it would help not only promote local talent, it would employ local talent, keep money local, and I think that would be a great asset. And I mean, these are all details, I just wanted to give you guys a broad of where my mind was at, and what I see, what my vision looks like. sit and discuss further from here on out. But this is my overall plan. Any questions?
I hate to sound dumber than these people think I am.
But when you go, you say all in one place, so you would just go to, what was that, Welcome Massena?
So you can do like, for the one I utilized here is experienceMassena.com. So what we do is, so like, say, right now, Fish Massena is fishmassenany.com, that little domain address. We would keep that, but bring all the files, so it actually called, for example, fish.experienceMassena.com or airport.experienceMassena.com, and it would all be under there, but you could still keep those domains that you have already registered and purchased. We would just have it forward to that subdomain, and like I said, have it on one server.
It's like having multiple phone numbers, but one phone.
There you go. See, he brought it back.
I was wondering why you brought him.
Yeah, that's it.
Someone's got their brains.
So any event coming up in the town and the community can be added into this for people to use as a resource.
Exactly.
Say if it's a thing at the downtown Christmas or a fishing tournament or anything like that, it can be easily put right into it.
Exactly. One of the things I mentioned to Tom too is like, if we were to go forward with this and dive in further, because I know, like, I go back to what Tom had said, and he says, you know, I just want to have somebody where I can just relay that message, and within like 24 hours, 36 hours, it's done. And that's one of the things I told him. I said, my plan would be we would actually retain photography and video services plus my services for a 2-year term. So there would be continuity instead of like right now where it's like a couple months, then there's like kind of a break, and we go like 6 months. So bring more cohesiveness across the board and constant, so where those items could be dropped off and handled and promoted.
Could we use this website to post opportunities within the town of Massena jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could have a job board.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad it's, you know, local. You guys are across the street. There's no mileage involved.
You know where to
It
find
was,
me.
It's a long way to the river, though.
it is. I think last time we came up with the logo was about 5 years ago. I think that was executive session when Joe brought out, Supervisor Gray brought out a couple of proposals. We picked one of those back then, and I wish that it was local back then. And you guys know the community. You know what a logo should look like. You know, to incorporate different aspects of our area and really show it with the logo and this program.
Our hearts would definitely be in it.
I do want to say, Jason, great job. I do want to say it's more than just a website.
Jason, if I can, I know we've talked a lot about this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do we need to?
Hello?
Yeah. Tom Miller on the phone.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Is it on mute?
Can't hear us.
Must be his phone.
Must have heard it.
You scared?
Hello?
Hello.
Tom, can you
Hey,
hear
Tom.
us?
No, one-way conversation.
No, we used to.
We can hear you, Tom.
Maybe he should text you.
So,
I'm working on it.
before,
Hello?
it's more than just a logo, and it's more than just a website. For us, we're looking at this as a branding and tourism strategy. Not just, we're doing another website, not we're doing another logo. We're coming up with a cohesive strategy for tourism and marketing down the
Can you
scene.
hear us?
So it's more, it's all those components put together.
It'll be the same logo.
They
can hear you.
You
They
can-
recognize
You
both.
can adapt this,
Absolutely.
you can adapt this to events that come up seasonally.
That's right.
You know, you've got the summer events, you've got the fall events, you've got the, one of the marketing things could be the Nicandry Center.
Absolutely.
This is, rather than putting all our eggs in one basket, we're
Right.
looking at putting a strategy that focuses on all the eggs.
All the,
All the eggs. And all the baskets.
Tom?
Yeah, Jason, can you hear me?
I can now. There we go.
I know we talked a lot about this and a couple things. in the newspaper today, the county had voted to give Waddington $30,000, and one of the legislators brought up the point of economic impact, and they're looking for that. Would this be part of your package? I believe we owe it to the town of Massena people to prove to them the economic impact that these tournaments will have on our community and the amount of money that we are bringing in by hosting these tournaments. Would that be part of this 2-year package that you're discussing now?
We can track, what I can track would be any of the assets that we create from this, or the Fish Massena. We can get metrics on that, as when it comes to like the Bassmasters and those sorts of things. I wouldn't be able to track any of the economic impact on that.
No, I'm just talking about our stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Town of Massena is going to do.
There would be
our tournament.
There would be gauges and benchmarks on this. So we would, like, when we run Facebook ads, we'd be able to get you reports. How many visits,
How many shares?
all those impressions, yes, anything. We'll have digital
Okay,
impressions.
and the last thing I had, and I think we discussed a little bit, I think there's a real need for a mobile app for the town of Massena. Is that part of the package too, or can that be added to the package in the future, or if the town board decides to go this way?
So this is not included in my initial synopsis here, but it can be added on eventually down the road, or it can be done now, and we can facilitate that as well.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You bet. Good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. I know you have another event.
Yes, I'm gonna jump over to that.
Good.
Oh, thanks, Nate.
All right. There's a discussion about the custodian position at the Massena Public Library.
Obviously, there's been a vacancy there. We had an employee that went out because of health. And we've had a temporary employee there for almost 6 months. We put an ad out starting on March 13th through the 21st, looking for applicants for that position. Did not receive one application. So I guess I'm here to ask the board to move ahead with hiring the current part-time employee who's at the library now. And, we're just looking for approval to do that.
Need a resolution. So we'll.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Alrighty, I'm looking for a approval of the minutes from February 6th meeting, 2019.
So we're ready to operate. 221 and 3/4.
Yes.
All three.
All three.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. All right, so we have this option to change the town employees deferred compensation plan from security benefit to New York State deferred compensation plan. Brenda?
The gentleman, Bradley Hart, came to me because we were not in compliance because with every, I think it's 3 years, we have to do and go out and find another one, like doing, is it RFP, to go find another one. And he was telling me that a lot of the municipalities now are all gearing towards the New York State compensation now, which he said it will be better for the employees to participate. It's cheaper. That's what he's telling me. So he said that he would come, and see the employees one by one and what money they have now, and the other one will be converted to the new one. And so at this point, we will not have to go out for any more RFPs. They handle everything. You'll be able to get a hold of this gentleman, to do anything you want to do, but he said he would also come here and, explain everything. But it will
To New York State.
It's New York State. And he handles everything. There's nothing at our end that we would need to do, which will apply to us here at the town hall, Massena Electric, and Massena Memorial Hospital. For all of them, since they're all under our number, because they're all by the town of Massena.
So the plan is he's gonna speak to the employees and then he's gonna speak with us as well, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have any timeline on this process?
He said he could, if it got approved, it'd be May, where he could come here and do everything.
And he can meet with all the departments.
Correct.
All righty. Looking for a motion
To, have him meet?
switch. On this.
I don't like the word change, I like to explain.
And what's the timeline for us to accomplish this? I mean, do we have,
Is there a
when is
deadline?
that?
No, there's no deadline.
Do we have to decide tonight? Is what
No.
it is?
No, there's no deadline. No.
Right, so I mean, I'd rather have him talk to the employees and talk to us and see what, you know, the benefits are and make sure it's something that's gonna work out, you know.
And their questions can be answered directly to him.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah,
And he's
we
great.
can set something up and have him come, and we could meet, where he can
Sure.
talk to everybody. Sure.
Great. All righty. All right, so there's an opportunity to either accept or reject the bids for a fuel truck at the airport.
As you all know, we received a New York State DOT grant
That light's
for
right
to
off.
purchase a new fuel truck for the Massena International
That
Airport.
light's on.
And we put a bid package together. The bid package was approved by New York State. We went out for bid, and every bid, basically the bids came back over bid. Plus Stadium International did not get the complete bid package, so I'm basically saying we should reject the bids and rebid it based on those, that information. So I'm looking for the board's approval to go back out to rebid.
So moved.
Second.
To reject the.
To reject, yeah, reject current bids and rebid.
And go out for bids.
Yep.
Yep.
There's two separate ones. Do you want to just put them all in one?
What's that?
There's two here,
Upper
3 and
resolution.
4. Do you want to just put them into one resolution?
I'm not understanding what you're saying.
3 and 4.
3 says
No,
to
no,
accept
three-
or
three-
reject.
That's a
Yes,
different-
that's, yeah, basically to go out for rebid, yes, that's,
So we'll put them
yeah,
together?
put them together.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Can I ask to make a motion on it?
Albert,
Seconded.
second by Carbone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried. We're looking to get authorization for the highway superintendent to advertise for summer help at the highway department and the Massena airport. Frank?
How many we need, Frank?
We need 3 this year. So I'm looking if it's okay to go out and advertise in the next couple of weeks and probably have some kind of interviews by the 1st of May. Or, I'm sorry, the middle of the second half of April timeframe. We have one returning student this year.
Make a motion, we advertise for 3 summer help for the highway department and it's in the airport.
So moved.
Seconded by Cunningham. Seconded by Cunningham. Any further discussion?
There's one other thing, not about this, but something else. We're missing something here.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried.
Okay, I think number 4 should be the new ARF truck,
Oh, yeah,
okay? The FAA grant, it's on our airport CIP.
that's right.
That's for the new ARF truck. So I'm asking
it's a
for,
different-
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
it's a
says to rebid.
well, it should say, I'm asking you to go out to bid for the new Massena International Airport fire, ARF truck, fire truck.
I wrote it wrong. I apologize.
That was the second.
We have the bid package has been put together. It's ready to go out for bid.
And that's a funded by the.
That's an FAA grant, yes.
I'll make a motion to bid for a new ARF truck.
So second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried. All right, I'm looking for you to authorize me, the supervisor, to sign the shared highway services contract for 5 years, 2019 to 2023. This is something new.
No,
That's one.
we've had one with the county before. It's basically shared services. If, they want to borrow a piece of our equipment, and we want to borrow something from them, they want to use our yard to store sand or stone or culvert pipe because they're working in our area, it's something that we've had before.
That's a hold harmless.
Yeah.
Make the motion to authorize supervisor to sign a 4-year agreement with New York State DOT and Town of Massena for shared services.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried. We want to schedule a March 27th public hearing.
Seven.
Number 7. Number 7.
Authorize, oh, well, I didn't really want to talk about that. I'm asking you to authorize the supervisor to sign a 4-year agreement with New York State Department of Transportation and the Town of Massena.
This is new, but it's basically the same thing that we have with the county.
New market. All right, Melanie?
Something you've been doing all along, Frank?
This is a new one.
This is just the new part of it.
No, this is actually a new agreement.
Okay.
Any, I guess we made a motion first.
Did you make a motion?
No, I did not make a motion.
I'll make it then.
Second. Any concerns, Frank?
No.
Okay.
It's-
I guess that was gonna be my next question. I was waiting to ask that, if
No.
you had any concerns
It's,
or.
it's under this, it's sharing services. It's
Okay.
the same thing we do with the county. From my understanding, they supposedly sent one to us last year, and I don't know where it went. They resubmitted it again to us this year.
And you've seen
Asking
them went
us.
to this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried. Now, can we talk about the public hearing?
If you want to.
For, let's schedule a public hearing, or I'd like to, for April 17th for a change in the open burn plan for the town of Massena.
That's your motion.
I'm asking you, give me a motion.
Oh, I'll make the motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second by, boy, all this hesitation.
I don't know.
Any further discussion? This was one that we had scheduled before, but weren't able to get it in on time, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried. You want to talk about this?
You want to do that now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you remember we did the public hearing on the amendment of the zoning code that would have authorized in neighborhood commercial district the sale of, in addition to automobiles, recreational vehicles, and to limit the area size to 1.5 acres of the total project. You know, that amendment, we did the public hearing last month. The outstanding issue was the seeker. Because of the limited nature of the change, it was almost a type 2 action that would have required no seeker. But the way that the seeker law has been drafted and the definition of the terms that we had in our code, I thought that it was prudent that we went through the seeker requirements for a type 1 action, which is the full environmental assessment. They've shortened the environmental assessment process when you're doing a change in the zoning code as opposed to a particular project, right? Especially where here, where we're really just changing a definition and constricting the size of the area, not expanding it. And so I guess the question to all of you is, you know, as you go through the seeker analysis, in order to do a finding, there has to be a finding here that it's not going to propose or create this minor amendment would create any environmental hazards or would any way impact the environment by adopting the change. So my initial analysis going through the seeker environmental assessment form, both part 1 and part 2, is there really wouldn't be. And if there's anything that any of you have concerns about, I think now is the time. Otherwise, I think the appropriate completion of the seeker process is to just note that the amendment is to, you know, add recreational vehicles. You don't anticipate that there's going to be any further environmental impact beyond what's already done pursuant to our code. We enter a negative declaration and go on. And just to note, the county planning board had reviewed and already approved going forward with the amendment. So unless there's something additional, I think we're good.
So noted.
And as long as you're happy, we probably should have a motion to adopt a negative declaration that this will not create any negative environmental impact, and then be happy to adopt the amendment if you so desire.
I'll move on.
Second. Give it to Mel, I've got enough. My quota.
All right. Is there any further discussion on that? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried. Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, just so that I'm clear, that was for both the negative declaration and the amendment to the zoning code.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. Need a motion to approve the lump sum consultant agreement with CNS Engineers for the design of the terminal access road rehabilitation at Massena Airport.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. We need to approve the cost plus fixed fee consultant agreement with CNS Engineers for the design of the terminal apron rehabilitation at Massena.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Transfer and amendments.
I'll sign them. I'll read over. Transfer.
I did 4 and 3.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to accept the transfers and amendments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried. Warrant number 3.
We signed them this afternoon. I move that we accept. Second.
So, did you have any trouble with Tom being gone? You're able to
I'm not going to throw Melanie under the bus.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carried. Brenda has sent you the financial reports for you to review. Anybody has any questions? Bring it up now, or if you have any questions later, feel free to call the Brenda or I. Preferably Brenda. Committee reports?
I got one thing. There was an article that was in North Country Now that I think it's saying that be able to pick up your vouchers for spring cleanup starting in April. No, it starts in May. And last 2 weeks of April, there'll be information going into the media to how that will all happen and what you have to do to get your vouchers. It also stated that you're going to get 3 vouchers, you're going to get 2, and you're going to have to come back and tell us why you need a 3rd voucher. And we're working on getting that all set up. So it's not April, it's May. May 1st through the May 31st. That's the town, not the village. All right?
Anything else? Any other committees that anybody wants to report?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things from the Recreation Commission. First, Tuesday, April 9th is a budget work session, and I just remind you that recreation is a joint venture, and they typically go with the village's plan, and we'll have a joint meeting to review the recreation budget when it's finished. That's their first budget work session. I told Mike McKee that to put their preliminary budget in your mailboxes for you. Friday, this coming Friday, the 29th, is the last day of ice. And good news, April 1st is the beginning of the roof project.
I just want to say something about the rescue squad. I sent you an email earlier in regards to some new equipment they had. Ben Miller was going to try and be here to talk about it, but he's being tied up with something else. But just check it out. It's on some equipment for laryngoscopes. The ones they have are becoming obsolete, so these are new ones, but just take a look at it and let me know if you have any question, or let Roger know, or Ben, just to share what they said.
That's already been asked by the
Yeah, but it's
board.
just some information.
At the highway, obviously, we're making a slow transition from winter to spring. Very slow. We worked, so far this year, as of last weekend, we've worked 1,798 hours of overtime. And we have spent additional $91,000 in salt expense for this year. We've plowed 80 days so far out of this year. So it's been an interesting winter. Airport, just to tell you where we're going, projects. Taxiway, we got the marking projects, they'll have to happen this year. We have our FAA inspection on May 28th through the 30th. Taxiway Phase 2 project starts this year. We have the security fence project that starts this year. Obviously, we're purchasing a new fire truck. We're also purchasing a new Jet A field truck. Then we have the terminal building parking lot upgrade that will take place. And we have some electrical issues with the runway lighting on 523 that needs to be repaired. And we're also implementing a new security system, Telos requirement from the TSA that requires 24-hour vetting of all our carded people at the airport. So every 24 hours it has to generate a report to verify that somebody hasn't robbed a bank or done something illegally. So that's what's going on with that. That's the airport.
So, our